billionaire space race we have going on at the moment. Obviously, Elon Musk, and then Jeff Bezos said he was going to be on the first commercial flight to space. And then I think it was Richard Branson that came out and announced that he was going to actually do it 7 days earlier. How do you react to this? Do you think it's for the right reasons? As an astrophysicist, how do you look upon this story as it unfolds?
Yeah, so there are two things to this. One is a very emotional point of view, and again, one is a sort of an intellectual point of view. And I find it fascinating that it has taken super wealthy individuals to make this happen. So even a super wealthy individual is not as rich as, you know, a whole country. And yet we haven't properly sort of done this kind of, you know, going up and down to space for tourism or things like that. Talked about it a huge amount, especially, you know, in the middle part of the 20th century, that this was going to happen. And yet for various different reasons, often political, often to do with the way companies interface with governments and the vast quantity of finance that's usually needed to do anything in that way. You know, we haven't done this. So it takes two competing billionaires, you know, and don't forget, you know, Elon Musk is just sort of quietly getting on, and he's, you know, I hesitate to say, it makes me smile to even think that Elon Musk is not grandstanding, but in, you know, but in comparison to Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson at the moment, Elon's taking quite a, you know, he's keeping it on the down low. But he's the one that's got the contracts with NASA to supply the space station and to build the rockets to go to the moon and these kinds of things. So it fascinates me that it takes individual people who just decide, I want to do this just because I want to do it. And we've reached a time where they can apply their business thinking to cost efficiency. And we've reached a sort of a technological era as well, where it's the material sciences and all those things are cheap enough to do this. So I wonder if it's just inevitable that this is the way it was going to happen. The thing to worry about is having some sort of Wild West free-for-all up there. So the launch of all these, the mega constellations, you know, Elon Musk's Starlink satellites, you know, where the UK's OneWeb constellation and many others, you know, we're talking about putting tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of satellites in orbit, all of which will affect our view of the night sky, all of which will degrade the work of astronomers, forcing them, you know, to become cleverer and smarter about what they do and how they do it. But, you know, all of them blocking our view of the natural night sky. Now, it may be that this is just one of those key philosophical turning points in history, that from now on, we will never see the night sky as this, you know, mostly natural, unadulterated place anymore. That this is just, you know, humans expanding their dominion. Only, you know, sort of future history will be able to tell. What I do think, to answer the question, is that we need a lot of talking about this. We do need to have these conversations about what do we want to do in space. It comes back to the old philosophy of how do we live good lives again. You know, what do we want to do in space? How do we want to do that? And how do we want to minimize the effects of doing that on the wider environment, you know, of the night sky? Let's see space, and there are moves in this direction and discussions, you know, within the astronomical community about this, about seeing space as not a nothing, but as an environment that needs conservation and sustaining, just in the same way that any environment on Earth does, and indeed on Mars or any other planet does.